Welcome into another edition, episode 103 of the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast. Thank you for joining us on the audio side, Apple, Google, Spotify, and of course on YouTube, watching the show on our Epstein Hitting Podcast page, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast page. We do really appreciate that. And today we're talking about our main topic, keeping it simple, trying to hit a round ball with a round bat, square it up, baseball or softball, trying to keep it simple, kind of an oxymoron, but we've got two guys here that are going to hopefully help you out with that conundrum. Me, myself, Jim, and professional evaluator, successful business owner, former coach, friend, and co-host, might I add, super dad, doing it live in the car between softball games with his intern, his daughter, also known as his daughter, flanked right next to him. There she is, right there. Jake Epstein.
Let's keep it simple.
Yeah. We are keeping it simple today, doing the show by phone. You are by phone, and here we are in your car. First time, by the way, we are doing the show outside of a computer, not doing it on a phone.
Yeah.
See how it works today.
We're remote. We move everywhere. We're very cutting edge.
That's right.
Very
So last week, we have a couple of things to get to here before we get to our main topic. Last week, we discussed players about to get drafted and what their mindset could be. College players, of course, high school players as well, more so college players because the College World Series is going on now in college baseball. But I do want to look at the other side of that here and give a perspective of college players, very good players, certainly, but their careers also, if they haven't already, about to end. What's your mindset? What advice would you have for college players whose careers are kind of coming to an end here?
Yeah, there's only maybe 100, or so of those guys left, maybe less than that, because the season is, we just have the 8 teams left in Omaha, and obviously not everybody's a senior, but it's to embrace what you have. And sometimes when your back's against the wall and you're a senior and you're not going to sign, and there's a lot of them on every roster that aren't going to sign, this is it. Like this today, might be the last game that I play. Tomorrow might be the last game. And sometimes when you have players like that, to embrace it, unfortunately, they're lucky enough to embrace it at the College World Series, right? They're not embracing it at, Middle Tennessee State on a, Sunday in the early June. So, the ones that are still left, it's just make the most of it. I remember I wasn't sure I was going to get drafted. I wasn't sure I was going to play professionally. And we had lost in our regional game in 2000 against Mark Pryor, whose USC was really good that year. And I bawled like a baby. Like that game was over. I mean, you could attest to this. Like your last game and you're done and your coach is like, okay, that's a wrap. And you're a senior and there's nowhere for you to go. That's a really empty feeling that I was not prepared for when it happened. Like I didn't prepare myself for what I was just playing. And then all of a sudden I'm in the on deck circle and the guy in front of me makes the last out. And I'm like, that could be it. I was one pitch away from getting one more at bat in my life. And fortunately for me, I did have an opportunity to play a little bit longer, but it's tough. I mean, you put your whole entire life from the time you're, maybe 10 years old all the way until you're, 22, 21. And all of a sudden, okay, that's the last time you're going to lace up the shoes in meaningful competition. That isn't, adult league. So yes, that was a long way of saying embrace the moment, which everyone should do because you never know when your last game is, but especially for those seniors, playing college baseball.
You brought Middle Tennessee State, and I once played a weekend road trip at Morehead State University. It was one of the most miserable.
Small field, right?
It was the right field was very small. It had that short porch, but it had a very high fence. But it was one of the most miserable trips I've ever taken in my life because it was raining all weekend. You felt like you were just surrounded by mud in the middle of nowhere. It was, no offense, Morehead State. I hate to insult Phil Simms who went there, but when you brought up Middle Tennessee State, that was one of the things I got from that. Was that memory of Morehead State for me.
Well, Morehead State, is popular for their shirts, I think, more than any other actual sports.
Another thing I want to bring up, and this kind of goes with our main topic today of keeping it simple. We're seeing Bryce Harper now spread out with 2 strikes. He's having arguably one of his best years, even uh, since 2015. I know he was the MVP last year because that was a big second half that he had that helped him propel to that MVP award. But this year he's kind of doing everything, being the Bryce Harper that people have expected and embraced over the past whatever decade. But one of the things that he's doing that sticks out to me offensively is spreading out with 2 strikes, and he's not striking out as much, and he's a lot tougher to get out and strike out. What do you think of the spreading out now with 2 strikes? Guys are starting to do it. Then there are other guys who just aren't embracing it. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. What do you think, Vivian? Do we like to spread out with 2 strikes and hit with a no stride?
I mean, sometimes, but with the slow pitcher, I don't do that because then I'll be really early.
You
So
know
I
what?
like it.
You know what? She just gave probably better advice than half of the coaches in professional baseball.
We do it, because we're not hitting balls over the fence, so being a good 2 strike hitter, sometimes your best pitch could be with 2 strikes. And if you foul, if you get gritty with kind of a no stride and you foul off some tough ones, maybe 2 or 3 pitches down the road you get one to actually drive.
Mhm.
But if you get a tough pitch and you're not in a position because you're trying to jack something and trying to hit a double or a home run with 2 strikes, and you don't get a piece of it, your at bat's over. So you never know what pitch will be down the pipeline, one or 2 pitches later. But now if you're a power hitter and maybe you're in the big leagues or maybe you're in the minor leagues and that's what you're paid to do is to drive in runs, maybe we don't do that. We have a different approach. But with someone like Harper that creates just as much bat speed, I mean, he hits the ball 115 miles an hour with a stride. He probably hits it 108 miles an hour without a stride, or 110 miles. So he's not losing a ton of bat speed, and he's gaining some adjustability. I think it's good. Now, he came up with a big stride and they took it away from him his second or third year in the league, and it was a terrible idea, and he struggled miserably. And then he came back up from the minor leagues and all of a sudden had a stride back that he had his whole life. So that now, looking back on that, you say, oh, we shouldn't have given him that no stride. We shouldn't have made him calm down. They were trying to calm him down because he had a big stride, a big move, but you also drafted him number 1, like let him do what he normally does. Maybe that year he put together where he struggled a little bit with the no stride, maybe that's helping him now 6 or 7 years down the road, that experience. So I like it for him for sure.
Yeah. Well, he also plays in a small ballpark too with his home games, 81 games in a very small ballpark. So he's not losing, I don't think, too much power.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I've seen him do it, and a lot of people are starting to embrace that new approach to at the major league level. Sometimes at the college level as well. From what I'm noticing, just me. Be sure to subscribe to the show. Go ahead. Bo Bichette does do it. Yes.
Bo Bichette's been doing it since really he came up, if I'm not mistaken, right?
He has. He did it in the minor leagues too. Subscribe to the show. You know what to do. Of course, the Lab Epstein Hitting Podcast YouTube page, so you can watch the show, full episodes, previous episodes, and all that good, happy stuff. I was going to say a bad word today, but I know that we're around youth, so I can't really use too much of a bad word. Yeah.
She's never heard any bad words, so I appreciate you doing that.
Anytime.
Never said around the house.
I've heard that. Episode 103, keeping it simple. Just as a baseline, let's get into our topic today. Keeping it simple. How does a hitter at any age really go about creating a baseline for keeping it simple so they don't get too much into their heads?
Yeah, at a young age, my dad used to talk about look fast or slow. Like, don't get crazy. Don't sit there, if you're playing 12-year-old ball, baseball, or softball, don't get crazy. Oh, I'm going to look middle away. I'm going to look middle in. I'm going to look, like look fast or slow. I'm going to sit on a fastball and I'm not going to be late on it.
Yeah.
And that served us well, really, until we were probably 16, 17 years old. And then all of a sudden it was like, okay, maybe we can dice up the plate a little bit more. He also told me that when he was in the big leagues, they would tip pitches with runners on second. They weren't tipping the pitch itself, they were tipping location. Is it going to be inside or outside?
Mhm.
And they figured that if they knew, okay, the pitch, the catcher's setting up inside, and it's, whatever, a right-handed thrower against a right-handed batter, they knew it was going to be a fastball, or if it was a left-handed one, a left-handed hitter, then, maybe it's a slider, maybe it's a fastball, but, that was it. Like, they weren't getting too crazy with it. So sometimes you want to get crazy. Sometimes you want to sit off speed and you want to sit middle away, maybe with 2 strikes or something like that. But every player is different. And I think that's the most important thing, is that you can't let players, like, get in their own head. They're thinking too much, and then all of a sudden they start taking pitches. So that's the worst thing that can happen. So each player has to be different. Like, hey, this is a player that's too heady. They think too much. They get in their own dome. All right, all I want you to do is, get up there and swing the bat. Look for a strike. I don't care what it is, and explode on it. And then some players, if you give them that basic advice, they'll swing at everything. So now all of a sudden it's like, okay, maybe we need to narrow it down a little bit, and okay, look middle away, or look middle in. But you have to know what kind of player you are and how that player adjusts to different pitches.
There was a time there, 2 things. Great points you made there, but also there was a time there where your screen just went black and I only heard you. And that was like my 20 seconds to shine, though. I was all alone on the screen. So on YouTube, if people watch this on the YouTube page, it was all me. I was my time to shine, baby.
That's probably when the ratings will go up the most. If you check the rate, I'm sure that's when, as soon as I came back, it's likely when everything went downhill. Luckily, Vivian was there. A call had come in and it did something. I don't know what it did. Vivian hit the button to bring me back. So for those of you that are upset looking at me, you can blame it on the kid.
So I have a question. We talked about Ted Williams last week. Go back and check that out in the archives. Your father mentioned it in his book, and there's a couple of things I'm going to bring up from that book in a couple of minutes here. But I want to know, how do you think Ted Williams in today's game, how do you think he would have kept hitting simple? Because I think that's what he tried to do, or at least in his own mind thought he was doing when he was playing and when he was, of course, coaching and managing.
Yeah, I don't know. There's so much information now that it's hard to keep it simple. It really is. Like, can you filter out? I think that's one of the problems, that's going on now, is that there's too much information. But I also think that, we talked about Eric Chavez the other day and his ability to kind of filter through that and not overcomplicate things with people. So I don't know how Williams would handle it. I think obviously he would have been fine, but he would have probably, I think he would have used it, quite honestly. I think he would have taken all that information and he would have done something with it. He had the brain power to, absolutely take that information, condense it down into a plan that, he could work with.
I'll be sure to follow us on social media as well, at Juntera on Instagram and Twitter, at Epstein Hitting on Instagram and Twitter as well. So that book that I alluded to, your father writes this in his book, Mike Epstein on Hitting. He writes that hitting has been passed down from generation to generation, and he sort of talks about how nowadays hitting is a little bit more complicated, or he did back when he wrote the book in the 90s. But it was a little more simple back then when it was passed down from generation to generation. What do you make of that? Do you think hitting is more complicated today? What are your thoughts on all of that?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Because, pitchers used to get into patterns. So pitchers have reports too.
Right.
It's not just hitters that get reports. Pitchers have as detailed or more detailed reports at their disposal as well. So it's definitely more different. I mean, I looked at somebody's splits the other day. They threw 4 pitches and they threw each of their pitches like 24 to 26% of the time. Okay, well, how are we going to sit on pitches when they're mixing it up that much and they're able to throw strikes? So that makes I think that makes it a lot more difficult. I think before guys would have a couple pitches and they threw more fastballs. They were a fastball pitcher or they were a breaking ball pitcher, and you knew that 2 out of 3 pitches was going to be one of those 2 pitches. Well, if you're not sitting at 67% on a certain pitch, it's going to make your plan a lot more difficult. So I think it's more difficult now to really outsmart the pitcher. Like I don't think that's as common as it used to be. I really don't. I think it's difficult to sit there and try to pick them apart unless you face that person a lot. But if you got less than 10 at bats against a pitcher, I don't think you're not going to be able to look at their splits and be like, okay, 2/3 of the time I'm going to get this pitch. You have to have a plan like, okay, what pitch is he getting over today? What pitches he throwing other people today? And a lot of times, that you have these reports, and these reports are all season long, right? Like, you pull a report, it's the first 50 games of the season. Well, maybe in the beginning of the year, that person's arm felt great, and they were throwing a lot of fastballs. But the last 2 weeks, maybe they've been throwing more breaking balls because their velocity's down. So there's a lot that goes into it. So sitting there and visually watching how that pitcher is attacking your teammates that same day is the best way to keep it simple without having too much prep that you put in, based on what that pitcher's done the entire season.
Well, your father also wrote in his book that Ted Williams told him this information, it's there. You just have to know how to use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right. Or not use it. I mean, there's so much data and video and all kinds of stuff at people's disposal. And honestly, I think that's been the downfall probably the last couple of years of hitting, is that there's too much information that is given to players.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden that player is, okay, I got to do this, I'm going to get this. And then they don't, and there's nothing that they can do about it. So I think it's important to sometimes just chill out, take a step back, look for a fastball and put a good swing on it.
One thing that I think we have to bring up, and an element we're forgetting about, with pitching, you can get a little more complicated because the pitchers, they don't fail like hitters do. Hitters fail if you're good 3 out of 10 times. You hear that old adage all the time.
7 out of 10.
What did I say? I said 3 out of 10 times. So
if
you fail,
60, right?
They're
going to fail all the time.
You'd be batting 700. That's not much.
That's pretty good. I'd take that.
Sounds like my batting average.
Yeah, and everything is reacting to the pitcher. The pitcher is in the driver's seat. They don't have to sit there. Whatever they want to do, they can do.
Yeah.
Now, whether they execute their plan is another story. But they're in the driver's seat. As a hitter, we're reactionary. But if you become reactionary, meaning, is it a fastball? Is it a curveball? Is it a changeup? Then all of a sudden you put yourself in a 2-strike situation. So regardless of what that pitcher's doing, you have to know what you do best. Look, I hit fastballs best middle away. Okay, I'm going to sit on something middle away until I have 2 strikes, right? I'm going to my strength. That pitcher might know that I like the ball middle away, and that pitcher may try to throw everything inside, but it doesn't mean the pitcher will actually be able to do that. And I think I think hitters sometimes give pitchers too much credit. That they can hit every single spot that they throw. They make mistakes. They make mistakes all the time. We have to be able to capitalize on them. And if we take that mistake or we foul that mistake off, then shame on us.
All right, so I want to play a little game here. Episode 103, keeping it simple. I want to use practical situations. So I'm going to ask you each level, youth, high school, college, pro, and I want you to tell me just a brief overview of how to keep it simple at those levels. So we'll start, and this is for baseball and softball players. So let's start with youth, keeping it simple at the youth level.
Yeah, fast or slow.
Fast or slow.
And fast or slow, but honestly fast. Like I'm looking for a fastball. I'm looking for a fastball that I can drive.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. If that pitcher can throw a breaking ball for a strike 2 or 3 times in a row, I'm going to tip my cap to him and say, that's really good pitching. And then the next time I go to the plate, then I'll look for those off-speed pitches. But I'm going to sit and I'm going to spit on everything else. I'm going to spit on breaking balls. I'm going to spit on changeups until I have 2 strikes. I'm going to sit on that fastball and I'm not going to miss it.
Okay. High school.
High school, it's going to be dependent on what that pitcher is like. If in high school, you have different pitchers, right? You have some guys that throw 90, and then you have other players that throw 75. So if I have somebody throwing 75, they're likely throwing a lot of breaking balls as well. So I'm going to sit, depending on what they're doing. So if I watch that day and they're getting their breaking ball over all the time, I might sit on breaking balls, because it's very simple. If somebody is not throwing very hard, I can still get to a fastball if I'm sitting on a breaking ball. So that part of it makes it, much easier. If that player isn't getting their breaking ball over, then I'm taking the breaking ball out and I'm going back to when I was, an amateur kid, a 12-year-old, and I'm saying, fastball, fastball, fastball. I'm not even looking for that breaking ball, regardless of how hard they're throwing.
Okay. College. And mind you, audience watching and listening, that in college, now you're starting to see pitchers pretty much every day, every weekend, all weekend, with 3 pitches, 2 pitches that they could throw for strikes at any time. And the really good ones anyway. 3rd pitch, kind of a fringe pitch, and the great ones, you just never know. 3, 4 pitches. So college.
So now you're talking about really having a plan. How am I getting attacked? Because they have a lot of, you can go at any time. They have a lot of, sorry.
You can go. Get out.
Your equipment's over there, right?
Get it.
They have a lot of data at their disposal. So, okay, look, this is we'll say it's an SEC weekend. We'll say it's a Big 12 weekend, whatever it might be. I know that I always get pitched the same way. Like Ole Miss pitched me this way. Mississippi State pitched me this way. I'm going to just stick to that plan. I'm seeing a lot of changeups. I'm going to sit on changeups. So I'm kind of going how I've been pitched, because they talk all the time. Okay.
There goes our it's okay. I was going to say, there goes our technical director today. So if something goes wrong,
we got to open up the bed for the equipment.
If something goes wrong, we are screwed.
We're toast. We're so toast. Yeah. So, at that level, you're taking a deeper dive. And again, this depends on, my number 3 hitter or my number 9 hitter nobody cares about. And I don't mean to say that nobody cares about you, but during the pitchers meeting with the pitching coach, they're saying, okay, who's hot and who's not. And if you're hitting 9th, you're probably not super hot. They're not going to be worried about you. They're going to worry about, the 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 player, maybe a leadoff guy, whatever. We're going to, spend our time with that. So that's the main thing that I would be concerned about, is how have I been attacked? I've been attacked with fastballs. Nobody's going to beat me with a fastball with less than 2 strikes. Or I'm getting changeups all the time. I'm going to sit on changeups and spit on fastballs as much as possible. But you have to stick to that plan, whatever it is.
Yeah. And we're going to dive more into that next week when we talk about more of a mental approach. All right. Professionally, keeping it simple, baseline for that when you're a professional player.
And then these guys are such elite athletes that, you talk to a lot of them and they're like, well, I don't look for pitches,
Mm-hmm.
And if that's a guy, if I'm getting to know a big league player and they're, do you look for pitches? What's your mindset up there? Do you like to hit fastballs? Do you like to hit breaking balls? If they're like, I really don't like to know what's coming, I really don't like to have that. And so I'll dive a little deeper. Okay, well, what do you look for to lay off pitches? Do you look for spin to lay off? What is it, location you're going to take a pitch? Well, they'll usually say, well, it's, usually I'll see different spin. So then I would go to and say, well, if you're taking different spin, it means you're looking for something else. So if you're looking for a fastball and you see slider spin, you're taking it. So let's expand on, you're actually looking for fastballs in this situation. So you can't really rely on people that say, oh, I just look for everything and react, because, typically they're sitting on a fastball and they're reacting to breaking balls. And some players are like that. And then other players, like I said, are good breaking ball hitters. But that plan is dictated on, how have I been pitched, maybe the last 5 or 6 days, and have I been successful with that? And then that first time up is, okay, how are they going to pitch me? I sat and watched, 12U softball all morning, and I saw, right, a handful of changeups, right? I saw, well, more than a handful, but I saw, a decent amount of changeups. Like, that's the tougher pitch. And if you can spit on that, I'm trying to think of how many changeups I saw that were thrown for strikes. If I sat and watched 200 pitches today, 300 pitches, maybe 2 changeups were thrown for called strikes. 2.
Yeah.
So that's a situation I'm looking for fastball. Now in the big leagues, they're throwing those for strikes early in the count. If they're throwing them for strikes early in the count, I'm going to sit on those changeups early in the count because they're typically going to be hangers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Changeup. So, oh, this guy's looking for a fastball. I'm going to throw something else. Love you too.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Jim. We love all our listeners.
We do have a listener question we'll get to here in just a second. It's a good one. It kind of pertains to last week's episode, but I do want to wrap up this main topic today, put a bow on it, keeping it simple. This is very important. Keeping it simple as a hitter, baseball, softball, when you're struggling.
Yeah, when you're struggling, I'm glad you brought this up actually, because I wanted to touch on rhythm and timing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how about keeping it simple? I'm going to make sure I'm moving when the pitcher's in their windup. I'm going to make sure I'm loaded into my back leg, because no matter what your pitch you're looking for or what pitch you get, if you get going too late and you don't get your foot down, you know, on time, or you don't start your stride until the ball's out of the hand, you will have no success, you know, based on your plan. So I guess the most simplest form, whether you're a young player or an older advanced player, you're in a slump or you're not, is let's get our rhythm going early and let's get it going, you know, before the ball is released. And if I could ingrain that into hitting 101 when kids are in T-ball, you know, before they even see a pitch, if we could get a stride that is rhythmic and slow, and we can build that in at a young age, players at age, you know, when they start seeing live pitches, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, they would hit the ball so much better just because they have a chance. The only time I see players struggle at young ages is when the velocity gets a little higher. Okay. Yeah. So, you know, whatever, they're starting to throw 60 miles an hour at age, you know, 12, something like that, 11, 10, 11, 12, somewhere in there. And then all of a sudden nobody hits. And the reason is because they step after the ball comes out and they're beat. Now, when that player's throwing 10 miles an hour slower, they still have time to do it. So all of a sudden, when people start throwing harder at age, you know, 13, 14, hitting really goes downhill. And that's why it goes downhill. It just, the player isn't getting their rhythm and stride going in time. So if you're going to go back to what is the most simplest form of getting better right now, it's making sure your rhythm and your stride is happening early enough when the pitcher is in their windup before they get rid of the ball.
As always, great stuff. Doing it today from the car. You, sir, you don't even have a desk and nothing. No desk, no notes. You're a wizard.
Luckily, I have one of those magnet holders. It's kind of nice.
Yeah, I do.
And I've been driving around the parking lot. There's no places to park. I've had people honking at me the whole time because I'm just pulled over on the side. It's chaos.
They have no idea what you're doing right now and how you're contributing to the hitting society.
Just trying to help people out. That's right. Thank you, Jim.
Let's get to our listener question. This is sent to us from Dan. He didn't say where he's from. But Dan sent to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com. He writes, "Hi guys, great episode last week. I enjoyed the in-depth analysis on Ted Williams. My question is something that is debated, wrongfully I might add, whether Ted Williams could hit in today's game. What does Jake think?" And I think I know what you're thinking because you just kind of laughed. Or at least
I mean, it's actually kind of a cool question, right? Like, hitters hit, man. Yeah. Hitters hit. You drop any hitter in any time period, that hitter will adapt and survive, right? Like the ultimate predator will survive no matter where you put them. And Ted Williams and Babe Ruth and Shoeless Joe and Ty Cobb and Honest Wagner, all those guys, if you put them into today's game, they would be just fine. They were the elite of the elite at that time. I mean, look at when we talk about Jenny Finch throwing to Barry Bonds, right? With the underhand, you know, like fast pitch softball, and Barry.
She did with A-Rod too. Remember, she used to strike out A-Rod and get him to swing and miss a bunch.
That's correct, right? So, are you telling me that if A-Rod and Barry Bonds couldn't play fast pitch collegiate softball? Like that's what you're telling me because they had a couple bad at bats. No, if those guys continued to dedicate themselves and see pitch after pitch and at bat after at bat, they would be amazing players at fast pitch too. So absolutely, Ted Williams would be just fine in today's game. Now the sports writers, you know, and the having a phone and video clips on people all the time, that would be rough for them.
Yeah.
He'd have to really watch his mouth.
Yeah. I saw a clip from the show The Captain, featuring Derek Jeter, which is coming out this summer on ESPN. I think he said that if phones were around back when he played, his career would have lasted 3 years. Yeah.
It's
All
true.
right.
I mean, it really is true. Like it's,
Yeah.
I don't know how, I mean, they didn't have phones like when I was in college.
Yeah.
And I don't know what, I mean, it's not like we hazed a lot of people, but we there was a pecking order in the college locker room. We'll put it that way.
Right.
People knew who was in charge, and when you were an underclassman, if you didn't really, if you popped off, then you were taken care of in a funny way. But you can't. I mean, if somebody threw a phone out, you were toast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Dan, I hope that answers your question. Again, if anybody has any questions, be sure to send them to us via jimbopodcast21@gmail.com, or of course on Instagram or Twitter at Jim Tara, at Epstein Hitting. Next week, we dive into the mental side, more of the mental side of hitting, why it's not talked about enough, and sort of give a good mental approach, as we did this week with keeping it simple. That is next week. Not enough mental talk. I think that's going to be the title of it, but we're going to really dive into the mental side more of hitting. We did the physical side with keeping it simple, somewhat mental side this week, but we're really going to dive into the mental side. What do you got coming up at the lab? I've got, don't forget, Cross Functionality, my podcast with Cassie Riley Bosia, which is debuting on July 13th, Wednesday, July 13th. So be on the lookout for that. And what do you have coming up at the lab? I hope the promo that you do here is a lot better than last week. Last week's promo was terrible.
The worst.
Yeah.
The worst. We have Scout Yard on Tuesdays. We just launched it for high school and college players. Every Tuesday night, we play live games. And now that the college, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but Texas A&M's in the College World Series, so they don't have their assistant coaches out. But we have a lot of college coaches and recruiters that come out from the area because, as you know, Texas is loaded with colleges within like 90 minutes from us. So we're able to get some. It's kind of like our own scout game, out there every Tuesday night, and it helps the players see live pitching. It helps the pitchers throw live, and then most importantly, they get in front of some quality colleges in hopes that they can get a shot at the next level. So that's the main thing we got going on.
All right. And of course, the Epstein Online Hitting Academy.
Of course, the greatest resource for anyone that doesn't live within an hour from me in Colorado. Plus, gas is expensive, and I have to drive to all these tournaments. So I appreciate all my customers that are out there. I truly do.
Yeah. And what's great about the online academy? They can send you something and you can literally, like you're doing today, check it out via your phone.
I don't know if they're listening, but I had a new person sign up last night. I got them. I invited them to join the app last night. They joined this morning. They uploaded videos this morning. And when I was sitting at the game, I was able to review their video with Fernando Tatis and get him a game plan for his games this weekend. Because he was doing something kind of weird with his posture. How cool is that? Like instant. That person was like in Tennessee or something somewhere.
Pretty damn cool.
Get better. It is pretty cool. Technology is great.
It is most times.
Yeah.
And today technology was great because we got to do the show on your phone.
From the Tacoma. Yes.
From your car. All right. Well, Ep's got to go to another game. He is a super dad this weekend. I have to go work out and head over to my parents, grab some of my mom's cookies, and we will talk to you next week. Be sure to subscribe and check everything out and do what you got to do. All right. Talk to you next week. Bye-bye.